X-rated is here.
Hey, man, I appreciate you. I wanted to come when I was off parole. That was a big deal for me. And also, I wanted to make sure that I had some product lined up. I knew what I was working on. I knew what my mission was, and I still was trying to figure it out. Honestly, I viewed you as you on my list, your goals. So I just was like, man, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And then boom, here we are, and it's organic and it's dope.
First of all, when did you get off probation or parole or whatever you were calling
I got off parole on March 1st. I'm shooting a $500,000 video with Tech Nine. We stopped to eat lunch, and I got my phone checking, because we had our phones to the side, and I got an email while I was holding the phone. I click on it, and it's like my PO like, hey man, congratulations, you offer life for parole, because I was on life parole. I wasn't on smoke some weed and they overcrowded. They don't got nowhere to put you parole.
Life parole.
I was on lifer parole. So when I got out, I was still a lifer.
Okay.
And you're still a lifer during parole. So you run a red light, that cop having a bad morning,
They're gonna
you go right back to prison with a life sentence as a lifer, and they'll see you when they want to figure out whether or not you should be released or kept. Yeah, so that was the experience I was having.
Damn.
Yeah, so March 1st, 2022, I got off, and I kind of, turned in my album, had to figure out now I could live where I want to live, had to figure that out, get situated, get an album out the way that just kind of let me wrap this up real quick. And so this album is kind of more of a deliberate result of those outcomes and being free.
Yo, it's crazy because like when I was growing up as a young kid, I remember discovering you through Brother Lynch. Mm-hmm. So I was Season of the Sickness is like one of my favorite albums ever. Shout out to Brother Lynch.
Yeah.
Fucking classic album.
Indeed.
I've played it on the podcast for many people. I'm like, you don't understand. There was this guy who used to talk about eating babies when I was a kid, and I believed him. And it used to freak me the fuck out.
Yeah.
I'd be listening to Brother Lynch by playing Resident Evil. Just fucked up childhood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, fucking killing zombies while this dude's talking about fucking killing babies. It was wild. Anyway, shout out to Brother Lynch.
Shout out to Brother Lynch.
He's a legend,
yes,
pioneer of horrorcore hip hop too. But like I dived into like what you were doing, and then like me and my homie Ramses used to just trip out how this fool was like in prison recording fucking whole albums from the pen, and they were dope as fuck.
Hey.
Over the phone. So you got locked up when you were 17.
I did.
Now you were already signed to Black Market.
Yeah.
As a juvenile. So what was the timeline between you signing your record deal and you going to prison?
Wow. Okay, so I was the first artist ever for Black Market Records. So I end up me and my homeboy, Young Meek from the Gardens, Big Meek, we met up with Cedric, and then Meek and Cedric came up with a plan. Cedric had Black Market Records in his pocket, in his brain, and Meek had the bread. You know what I mean?
What year is this?
This is 1991.
Okay.
1991. So I already have my Niggas in Black EP out. Me, Lynch, and Six already have the Endangered Species project that kind of became Nigga Deep, I believe. And then we started linking up with Cedric, me and Meek, and that's how we ended up turning in Psychoactive in like December of 91.
And then
January 91.
How much further after that was you catching your case and having to go sit down for
2 months?
2 months.
I was arrested maybe 90 days later. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, it was a wild set of summers.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because we hear about like and how intense the violence is in Sacramento.
Yeah.
Like now.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's obviously guys like Mozzie are huge coming out of the city. There's a lot of guys, DB About the Bag and Lavish. There's a lot of dope shit coming out of Sac.
T Nutty.
Yeah.
Sebo.
Sebo, a legend for sure. Fucking independent legend for sure.
Yeah.
But was it all, because like obviously for people who don't know, like you went to prison for it was like a gang related homicide, right?
It was. Yeah, I was given gang related homicide, first degree premeditated murder, and use of a firearm. That's what I got found guilty of.
Like how crazy was the gang scene in Sacramento in the late 80s, early 90s?
It was wild. It was very intense. That the mid 80s, It was just people were representing what they were representing. My neighborhood got founded in the late 70s, early 80s as a result of Compton Crips coming to South Sacramento to sell dope in our neighborhood. Nutty blocks primarily. So the garden block is really a result of our ancestors being the Nutty Block, Compton Crips, and some of the Santana blocks. So garden block came from that. Among other things, I got a founding father from Garden Block here with me, Big Dooney, but we ended up seeing where people was just fighting. You know, our neighborhoods is all Bloods and Crips. We in a box and Northerners, we in a box of Franklin Boulevard, Meadowview Road, Florin Road, and Freeport. That's kind of our box that would be the Gardens. A little bit above Franklin, though. Franklin is Franklin, but everything above it is the Gardens. And you got the Meadowview Bloods in that box. You got the 29th Street Crips, 24th Street, 21st Street, who all together are 914 Garden Block Crips. And so in the beginning, in that mid period, it was just a little bit of fighting, because even the Bloods are the homies. You know, Garden Block existed before Meadowview did, Bloods wise. Mm-hmm. Meadowview always existed. Like, I'm from Meadowview. We all from Meadowview. But the Meadowview Bloods kind of got born out of homies beating up people and been getting beat up by people who were technically homies.
Right.
So the violence created, you know, where they started standing on their own 10. They from the Gardens too. They G2. It ain't no hoes out there. They really with the shit. And so somebody get clapped, you know, and that tipped all the dominoes in the South Side. I can't speak for Oak Park or Del Paso Heights. That ain't my right. But they was with the shit as well. But specifically on the South Side, you know, in the late 80s, we had a homie get, you know, we got one that got smacked, and then now somebody else gets smacked over there, and it just turned into trading bodies.
Crazy.
And that's the season of the sickness was born from that.
Wild. And so you catch that charge at 17?
17, yeah.
So you're a kid, man.
I am a kid, man. Just a baby. Now, looking back on that, I'm very empathetic to that little dude. And everybody that was with me, all of us was babies. We was just some babies, man. Misguided kids.
It's so wild, too, because to think, like, to where we are now, and, like, you know, the YSL trial, and how, like, artists are having their lyrics used against them actively.
Yeah.
They used your album against you in court, right?
Yeah, they used the lyrics to my song, Still Shooting, which has a sample from Ultraviolet Dreams from Cypress Hill in it, you know, so it's dope to be able to talk to Be Real the other day. But yeah, I had made Psychoactive. Ironically, I'm being executive produced by a Meadowview Blood, who happens to be Sibo's little brother, Big Meek, Miko Ewer, and he's there when I record that song. I recorded Still Shooting at the studio with a Meadowview Blood in December of 1991, and they turn around by the summer of 92 saying this song was about this incident that occurred 90 days afterward. And so they switched the title.
Just so I'm clear, was the guy who lost his life from that set?
He was.
Okay.
Yeah, it actually was a woman.
Oh, a woman. Okay.
A prominent figure in our community, and the mother of people who, you know, there was some disdain involved in it, right?
Got it. Okay.
So her children were not being viewed favorably on our side, and they didn't view us favorably. That was with the shit. You know what I mean? And they was active. And so they take my song and say it's about this incident that it had nothing to do with. They changed the name to The Murder and call it The Murder, even though that was the intro with the Pizza Man thing with me and Brother Lynch on, where we pull up, pretend to be the pizza man, dude open the door, we gun him down. That's The Murder. The song is called Still Shooting. So they changed the name of the song to fit the narrative, quote my lyrics broken up so that it says what they wanted to say.
Out of context.
Out of context. Write those stories for the Sacramento Bee. Tell those stories on ABC, NBC, all of them. And then that gets picked up by the AP. And then hip hop journalism repeated those stories instead of writing their own. Like my home field advantage of hip hop. Like now, someone like you would have dug into that.
Right.
You wouldn't have let that happen to me. You would hope a Vlad wouldn't have let that happen to me. It would have been some people, Elliot Wilson, who would have disagreed with that. Ironically, Elliot could have disagreed with it then, I think. and didn't.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what Elliot was doing in 91, to be
was
fair.
what
He might have been
needed.
an intern or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he might not have had the power in 91 or 92. That's true. But what I do say is that hip hop media did not tell the story themselves. They just repeated the story that originated from conservative news media in Sacramento, which was a Republican dominated environment at the time. It was an anti-crime
Right.
environment. It was a different culture. And Sacramento also used me in a sensational way to have a viral story, what we would call a viral story.
Right.
One of the first times there was something that Sac was on the map for that they could be proud for. Sac always been the little brother in California.
For sure.
And so you had the Dorothea Puentes thing that gave Sac got his beak wet with national entertainment, true crime kind of shit. And I think they got thirsty. And so when my thing happened, they sold that story and used it. It was ratings. It was, it sold papers. And that's what they did. They tore up a 17-year-old child.
That shit's crazy.
Yeah.
And that was also kind of like, I feel like the era of like the demonization of hip hop. Because you got to think between like the 2 Live Crew shit and NWA was a little before that. And just like, there were so many politicians stomping on CDs. And
Tipper Gore.
And what's the lady from LA?
Dolores Tucker.
Yeah. It was like there was like this real like anti-hip hop agenda, like on really like the left too. Like it was a lot of Democrats.
A lot of it was coming from that. It was both sides.
Both sides were like, fuck this shit.
Yep. FBI on NWA for fuck the police. Tipper Gore and all of them on 2 Live Crew. Here they come with Band in the USA.
Right.
The Ghetto Boys, Jay Prince coming under attack. So they got to make We Can't Be Stopped. Time Warner turning on Ice-T.
Crazy.
It was a lot in this era. That's without talking about Mike Tyson and what he was going through. Without talking about now that entering that stage of Tupac, the demonization of Tupac, and or the selling of his sensational story is kind of what they were doing. And so you had OJ occurring. It was a rough time in this to be a part of the culture at the time.